They told you, you're just one, just another face in the crowd. But they didn't see what was burning inside you, a fire waiting to be unleashed. They didn't realize that one spark can ignite a movement, that a single voice can start a revolution. You're no longer just one. You've become the force that no one can ignore, the spark that turned into wildfire. It wasn't luck, it wasn't chance. It was your relentless belief, your refusal to stay silent, your unwillingness to let them define you. Now, they can't stop what's coming. You've multiplied, and the world is about to witness what happens when one person refuses to stay small. Get ready, because your movement has just begun. Being alone isn't a weakness. It's the most misunderstood power in this world. People see someone sitting in silence and assume defeat. They think quiet means broken. They believe distance means weakness. But being alone is where real warriors are made. When the crowd leaves, when the voices stop, and when every handshake turns into a goodbye, that's when something inside you finally starts to speak. Not the loud part of you, not the fake strength you wear around others, but the deep, raw, furious truth that whispers, "This is not where I end." That voice, the one born in loneliness, is the one that builds a movement. The world doesn't know how to value someone who walks alone. They praise the followers, celebrate the loud ones, cheer for the trends. But they never see the person who walks in the shadows, sharpening his thoughts like blades. They don't respect the one who chooses solitude over fake company. But that's the difference between those who burn out fast and those who burn forever. Solitude is not isolation. It's not exile. It's a training ground. When you're alone, you're not running away from the world. You're preparing to return with a version of yourself no one's ever seen before. You are becoming the person who doesn't need noise to make an impact. You are learning to be enough for yourself. And that is terrifying to those who depend on attention to survive. When you are left alone, you are left with truth. In those quiet, painful moments, you hear only what's real. It's when you're by yourself that you realize no one can define your worth but you. You stop seeking validation from others. The opinions of people fade into nothingness. All that's left is your desire to evolve, your commitment to rise. And that's when you realize being alone is your greatest strength. Because in that silence, you hear the roar of your potential, the sound of everything you've ever dreamed of becoming. Alone, you face yourself. Alone, you build. Alone, you become. At first, your voice was just a whisper, a quiet echo in a world that demanded louder sounds. You didn't speak to be heard. You spoke because you had no choice but to express what burned inside. They told you to keep it down, to tone it back, to fit into their mold of what's acceptable. But you couldn't. The fire inside you grew stronger, louder, until the echo became a roar, shaking the walls of everything they told you to believe in. Your voice didn't just carry words anymore, it carried purpose. The silence that once surrounded you started to break, the heaviness lifting as your words found their place in the world. They may have ignored you at first, thinking your dreams were too big, too crazy, too impossible. But what they didn't realize was that every whisper you made was like a seed, planted deep into the earth, waiting to sprout into something they could never control. And when it did, when that quiet voice turned into an undeniable force, they were caught off guard. What they thought was a fleeting moment of weakness turned into a storm they couldn't stop. That's how movements are born, not from loud demands, but from the persistent echo of someone who refuses to be quiet. You didn't scream for attention, you let your actions speak for you. With every step forward, the world couldn't ignore you any longer. They had no choice but to listen. The world doesn't change from loud declarations. It changes from silent persistence, from the echo of one person's belief that grew into a roar loud enough to rattle the very foundation of what others thought was possible. When you started, they underestimated you. They thought you would fade out, just like every other fleeting idea. But now your voice isn't just heard, it commands attention. It demands action. It roars louder than any doubt, louder than any fear, louder than anything they thought they could control. You've gone from an echo to a roar, from invisible to undeniable, and nothing can stand in your way now. The world loves to measure things: success, value, power. They use numbers, opinions, and standards that are broken and outdated. They measure your worth by what they can see, by what they can count, by how they can compare you to others. But what they fail to see is that numbers don't tell the whole story. The world measures you by the wrong things. They count your failures, your mistakes, your missteps, and they think that's all you are. They see your struggles, your setbacks, and they use them to label you. They tell you you're not enough, not good enough, not strong enough, because they only see the surface. They don't see the depth of your heart, the fire in your soul, the hunger inside you that's been building quietly in the shadows. They don't see the moments when you get back up, when you keep going, even though no one is watching, when you keep fighting, even when they all think you've lost. They measure you with broken tools. They count your failures, but never your strength. They see you as one, but fail to realize that one can become everything. They miss the truth, that the power to change the world isn't in their measuring sticks. It's in your belief. It's in the strength of your will. It's in your refusal to let their measurements define you. While they see one failure, you see 1,000 lessons. While they see a setback, you see an opportunity. You've learned that what the world measures is irrelevant because you're not playing by their rules anymore. You've stopped looking at their yardsticks, stopped worrying about their opinions. You're creating your own standard, your own measure of success. The world may measure you wrong, but you are not defined by their limitations. You are defined by what you refuse to let go of. Your vision, your belief, your commitment to rise. You are building something that doesn't fit in their boxes. And one day, they'll realize they were wrong about you. Because what they couldn't measure is the force you've become. The unstoppable, undeniable force that can never be contained, only respected. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a moment of sudden revelation. It wasn't a grand gesture that the world could witness and praise. It started quietly, in the stillness, in the shadows where no one was watching. That's where you began. That's where you transformed. They didn't see it. They couldn't, because they were too busy looking for the finished product. But the truth is, you were always in the process of becoming. Every step you took was a part of your transformation. Every setback you faced was a lesson that shaped you. Every failure was not a dead end, but a door opening to something more powerful. You didn't need the approval of others to change. You didn't need their support to evolve. You didn't need them to tell you that it was okay to be different. You had your own voice, your own vision, and you built from that. What they failed to see was that you weren't becoming something new. You were returning to the real you, the person you were always meant to be. They thought you were lost, stuck in the struggles of today, but you were never stuck. You were just gathering strength, gaining knowledge, becoming sharper, wiser, and stronger than they could ever imagine. The transformation was quiet, almost invisible to the naked eye, but it was happening every day. You were changing, evolving, growing into someone who no longer needed their validation. You were building a version of yourself that could not be broken, a version of yourself who knew exactly who they were and what they were capable of. The transformation didn't ask for permission. It didn't wait for the right moment. It didn't need anyone's approval. It was happening inside you, and nothing, no one, could stop it. And when it finally showed up, when the world could no longer ignore you, it wasn't just a change in how you looked. It was a complete transformation in how you moved, how you thought, how you carried yourself. You became someone who didn't just survive, they thrived. And that transformation, the one that no one saw coming, is what will make you unstoppable. Because once you've transformed into who you were always meant to be, the world has no choice but to take notice. And by then, it's too late. The movement has already begun. Pain is a strange thing. At first, it feels like a weight you can't carry, a burden too heavy for your shoulders. It whispers to you that you're not enough, that you're weak, that you'll never be what you dream of becoming. But somewhere along the way, something changes. That pain, the one that felt like it would break you, suddenly becomes the source of your strength. It's not a weakness anymore, it's fuel. It doesn't control you, you control it. You stopped running from it, stopped hiding from it. Instead, you learned how to harness it. The pain that once felt like a storm became the very wind that pushed you forward. Every wound, every scar, every moment of suffering became a step in your evolution. And when you looked back, you realized something incredible. You didn't break under the weight. You built with it. You turned the hurt, the loss, the disappointment into the foundation of your power. You learned that pain doesn't have to destroy you. In fact, it can be the thing that defines you. The world sees your scars and they judge, they pity, they feel sorry for you. But what they don't see is how those very scars are the blueprint for your future. They didn't break you, they made you. And now, you're untouchable. You wear your pain like armor, not chains. You've learned how to move through the world with the power of everything you've endured. And instead of feeling small or broken, you feel stronger than ever. What others call suffering, you call strength. What they see as failure, you see as victory. You have transformed your pain into power, and that power is undeniable. It's what drives you. It's what fuels your journey. It's what makes you relentless. And now, when life throws its hardest punches, you don't flinch. You don't fall. You stand taller. You know that pain is not the end. It's just the beginning. And with that power inside you, nothing can stop you from reaching the heights you've always known you were destined for. They didn't see it coming. They thought you were just like everyone else, small, vulnerable, insignificant. But what they didn't know was that you weren't built to blend in. You were built to shift the very fabric of the world around you. You didn't follow the rules. You didn't listen to the limitations. You were a ticking time bomb, slowly gaining power until the moment you exploded into something they couldn't ignore. And when you did, when that shift finally took place, everything changed. You weren't just a person anymore. You were a force, a presence that couldn't be controlled. You became dangerous in the best possible way. Dangerous not because you wanted to hurt anyone, but because you were now unstoppable. You had become someone who had nothing left to lose, and that made you the most dangerous kind of person there is. No one could hold you down. No one could tell you what to do. You moved with a clarity that scared people because they knew you couldn't be bought, controlled, or stopped. They thought they could define you by your circumstances, by your past, by what they believed was possible for someone like you. But they were wrong. So wrong. You weren't just breaking free from their expectations, you were destroying them. You became a force they couldn't predict, a power they couldn't handle. The moment you realized your own power, your own worth, the game changed. You became more than just one. You became a movement, a wave of unstoppable energy that was only just beginning to gather force. People started to fear what they couldn't control. They began to realize that you were no longer the person they could ignore. You had evolved into something they could not defeat. And now? Now they are terrified because they know there is no going back. You are dangerous because you no longer care about their opinions. You are dangerous because you are fully in control of your destiny. You are dangerous because with every move you make, you are proving that nothing can stand in your way. The shift has happened, and you are no longer just surviving. You are thriving. You've become the force that the world doesn't know how to handle, and the only thing they can do now is try to keep up. It all starts with one. Just one person daring to believe. One spark ignites the fire that spreads far and wide. The world may have seen you as insignificant at first, a single thread in a tangled web, but they didn't see what was brewing under the surface. When you decided to rise, you didn't just rise for yourself. You rose for everyone who ever doubted you, who ever told you that you couldn't. You became a beacon, a light that drew others who were lost in the darkness. They saw your strength, your commitment, and they were drawn to it because they too were tired of being told they weren't enough. And suddenly, it wasn't just you anymore. It was a community. It was a movement. It was a wave of people who had the courage to stand up, to speak out, to act. The force that was once inside you began to spread like wildfire. What was once just one voice became thousands. What was once just one dream turned into an entire movement. You didn't just multiply by numbers, you multiplied by influence. And now you're not alone. You've inspired others to walk the same path, to follow the same fire that burned inside you. You are not just one anymore. You are the spark that has lit the hearts of others, and together you are unstoppable. The world tried to reduce you to a single person, but now the world is watching as you and your movement rise, stronger, louder, and more powerful than ever before. They don't see the days you spent alone, when everyone else was out, enjoying themselves, and you were grinding. They don't see the early mornings, the sleepless nights, the relentless pursuit of a dream no one else understood. Consistency is a silent power, one that doesn't scream for attention, but quietly works in the background, steadily building. It's not the big moments that change everything. It's the small, everyday actions that no one notices. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Every time you keep going, even when the world tells you to stop, is a sign of strength. Most people give up too soon. They see the road ahead and get discouraged by how long it seems. But you understand the secret. You know that real power isn't in grand gestures. It's in showing up day after day, pushing yourself, even when no one is watching. Your consistency will always be louder than their doubts. When they look back at your journey, they won't see just one person. They'll see years of determination, relentless effort, and a spirit that refused to break. And in the end, that's what makes you unstoppable. That's what makes you a movement. Consistency turns the impossible into possible. And it's this quiet power that will carry you further than you ever dreamed. At the end of the day, what separates you from everyone else is belief. The world may try to break you down, but as long as you believe in your vision, nothing can stop you. They told you it was impossible, but you believed. They doubted you, but you knew your worth. Belief is the seed that grows into everything you've become and everything you will be. Keep believing because that's where true power lies. Your belief is your movement, and it's only getting started. There comes a moment in every journey, a pivotal moment, when the fog of doubt begins to lift and the truth becomes undeniable. It's the moment when you realize something that you've known deep down, but were too afraid to admit. You are unstoppable. It's not a sudden change. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not an epiphany that smacks you in the face. It's a slow burn, a gradual awakening. The moment when you start to understand that all the obstacles, all the pain, all the rejection you faced wasn't meant to stop you. It was meant to make you stronger. They tried to break you, tried to make you doubt yourself, tried to convince you that you couldn't be more than just one. But you didn't break. You didn't fold. You didn't give in. And now you can see it clearly. You were never meant to be just one. You were always meant to be the force that changes everything. Think back to the moments when you thought you were alone, when you were facing struggles that felt like they would swallow you whole. In those moments, it felt like the world was against you. It felt like every step forward was met with 2 steps back. But through it all, you kept pushing. You kept going. And now you understand why. You were building something in those moments. You were laying the foundation for your future. Every setback was just a setup for something greater. Every failure was a lesson in disguise. Every piece of pain, of rejection, was a tool to sharpen you, to prepare you for what was coming. And what was coming? You, the real you, the version of yourself that's no longer afraid of the dark, no longer afraid of what others think, no longer afraid of failure. You've become someone who doesn't just survive, but thrives. Someone who has learned that every obstacle is a chance to prove yourself stronger. Someone who understands that greatness doesn't come easy, but it's worth every ounce of effort. This is the moment when you stop looking back and start looking forward. This is the moment when you realize that you've been building not just a life, but a legacy. Your legacy is in the way you rise, in the way you keep going when everyone else quits. It's in your ability to turn pain into power, failure into success, rejection into motivation. When you realize that you are unstoppable, the world changes. The chains that once held you back become invisible. The fear that once gripped your heart melts away. And what's left is the raw, unfiltered version of you, the version that cannot be stopped. What makes you unstoppable isn't just your strength. It's your belief. Belief in yourself. Belief in your vision. Belief that no matter what happens, you will always rise. You may stumble. You may fall. You may feel lost at times. But as long as you have that belief, you will always get back up. You will always find your way. And that is what makes you a force to be reckoned with. The world can throw anything at you. But if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your mission, nothing can defeat you. Not doubt, not fear, nothing. The moment you realize you're unstoppable is the moment when you understand that the world doesn't control you. You are not bound by its rules, its expectations, or its limitations. You create your own reality. You set your own standards. You define your own success. And once you realize this, once you embrace this truth, there's no going back. The world may have reduced you to one, but now you're not just one. You're a movement. You're the force that can't be stopped, the power that can't be contained. And that's the power you carry with you every single day. So don't let anyone ever make you feel small again. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not enough. You've already proven that you are more than enough. You are everything you need to be to make your mark on this world. And when you finally embrace the truth of who you are, you will realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in your way. You are unstoppable, and it's time for the world to see it. For so long, they ignored you. They dismissed your dreams, your efforts, your ambition as just noise. They thought your actions were insignificant, but they didn't know the truth. You weren't acting for them. You weren't trying to prove anything to anyone but yourself. Your actions weren't meant to impress, they were meant to transform. They were meant to show you what you were capable of when no one else was watching. And one day, out of nowhere, they began to notice. Your consistency, your dedication, your relentless pursuit of something greater. It all started speaking louder than any words could. When you first started, no one believed in you. They told you your ideas were crazy. They laughed at your plans. But somewhere along the way, they stopped laughing. They stopped dismissing you. They started watching, because your actions didn't just echo, they roared. Each step you took was a statement that you were never going to stop, no matter what. They thought you were weak, but with every move, you proved them wrong. You built what they said you couldn't. You achieved what they said wasn't possible. And now your actions have become louder than their doubts. Now, when you walk into a room, people don't just see you as one. They see the power of everything you've built. They see the fire that never stopped burning. And it's that fire, that constant, unwavering determination, that speaks volumes without a single word. They can't ignore your results. They can't deny the transformation. And every time you reach a new milestone, every time you shatter another limit, you show them that it's not about who's watching. It's about who you become when no one is there to cheer you on. Your actions have become the proof of your potential. You didn't need their approval, their praise, or their belief. You proved it to yourself, and now the world can see. The power of your movement is in the quiet, consistent actions that have created something unstoppable. And now that the world has seen it, they can't unsee it. You've created a legacy, not with words, but with actions. And now they see it. The movement you've built, the strength you've uncovered. They saw you as one, but now they see you as unstoppable. The world can't ignore what's rising, your legacy. It started with a whisper, grew into a roar, and now it's a force they can't stop. So keep pushing, keep fighting, because you've only just begun. Like, comment, and subscribe to Twist Mind, because this revolution, it's far from over.